Okay, so today is going to be a double video upload because holy crap, we just had some freaking amazing news that dropped. So Games Workshop has released some serious spoilers for the upcoming Ork Codex, and I cannot tell you how freaking excited I am. Last night in the Discord, we had people crying because they're like, oh no, Badrock's gone. That means Flash Kits are dead. And today, people arise triumphant. And we are excited and we are thrilled and we are full of the happiness and WoW energy because we have some amazing new stuff to talk about. Let's go ahead and do it. Guys, this video will be pretty quick. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through all of the new releases that Games Workshop just gave us, and I'm going to talk to you immediately what my immediate impressions are and how we're actually going to be using it on the board and how freaking awesome this stuff is. Now, there are a few caveats. One, no, we don't know the points, and there are some other details in the codex that will be context dependent, that will contextually make some of these things better or worse as the codex is dropped. But let's go ahead and talk about these first things. I'm going to tell you how I'm immediately going to start fitting it into an army. So the number one thing that pops up on the Warcom article is the detachment rule for the War Horde detachment. And this is going to be mob mentality. What it says is, each time an attack targets a boys unit, they get a 5-up invuln, and if they have more than 10 models, you get to reroll saving rolls of 1. Now, on initial impact, people are thinking this is insane. Orcs are going to be so tough now. In all reality, that's really contextual, because remember, if you have more than 10, you're giving up a lot of blast. Being able to reroll 1s is cute, but it's, I think, mathematically, I believe Felix said, I'm going to trust him because he knows math, it's like a 5.5% increase in survivability. Now, granted, the thing is, it's really cool because you get it every single turn, which is dope. And it does maybe lead us to the option to actually be running these 20-man blobs of Ork, which could be actually pretty sick. Now, they also gave us a really cool enhancement here. Now, this is one of those enhancements that when I see it, I think it's really good, but then when I think about it, it's probably not quite as good as we say it is, as we initially think it is. So, Orcs infantry model only. Each time the bearer fights, while resolving those attacks, add 1 to the strength characteristic of the bearer's melee weapons. If the bearer's unit contains 10 or more models, while resolving those attacks, add 3 to the strength characteristic instead. So essentially what you're doing here is you're going to have a war boss, and that war boss is going to be probably leading, 20 boys. And his power claw is, instead of being strength 10, it'll be strength 11. Or in the Chwa, or I'm sorry, instead of being strength 10, it'll be strength 13. And then if you're in the Wa, it'll go by another strength, and so it'll be up to strength like 14. Now, don't get me wrong, that's cool, but I don't really know if it actually hits any breakpoints that really matters. So in all reality, that's probably one of those enhancements that's just kind of cute, and I would probably only be taking it if I had points left over. But there is a lot of stuff to be super excited about it. Now let's look at the Bulldozer Brutality stratagem. This is a stratagem they have released that applies to the War Horde. So as of now, we know where our boys are going to be getting invulns. They're going to get to re-roll some invulns, assuming that you've got more than 10 in a squad. We've got a kind of cool little stratagem. But this is we've got a cool enhancement, but this is actually a very, very cool stratagem. So one boys unit from your army that has not been selected to fight and is within engagement range of 1 or more enemy units. Until the end of the phase, each time your unit is selected to fight, Now, that is a very fascinating wording, my friends, because that is not something that is spoken about a whole lot. And I actually haven't brought this on the Discord yet, so I'm going to do that right after I'm done with this video. Does that mean that we're going to have multiple chances to fight each phase with our boys blob, or with one of that is, until the end of the phase, each time your unit is selected to fight. That does seem to insinuate that there might be ways to give yourself multiple times of fighting. That is fascinating. But let's carry on. When determining which models in your unit are eligible to fight, any models in your unit that are within 3 inches are eligible to fight. When resolving those attacks, such models can target one of those enemy units that is within 3 inches. So what does this mean? It essentially is going to give you fight in 3, or in some situations, if you're staggered, even 4 ranks. This means that your 20-man blob will be hitting with 20 boys. That is very interesting and very, very exciting to me. It's going to make move blocking and stuff a lot more tricky, considering that we can get a 3 inches of engagement. That is very, very fascinating. So Bulldozer Brutality is giving me some pauses. I wasn't the most excited about the other things, but this one could be absolutely disgusting. We got one more stratagem that they're going to give us for the Green Tide squad. It says, "Come on, lads." Now, this is dope. It is a regen for these big Orc Boy squads. So if you have these big Orc Boy squads, they get started to get knocked down. Well, suddenly for 1 CP, you get D3 plus 2 models back. Boom. That's a tough unit. Okay, so now I'm actually really, really fast interested in potentially running one of these big blobs with a Pain Boy, because that Pain Boy is going to be giving... So the blob is going to have a permanent 5-up invuln with reroll 1s to their invuln saves. The Pain Boy, assuming it's the same, and it could be different. I don't have the codex, so I don't know for sure. Assuming it's the same, is going to give him a 5-up Feel No Pain, and then the Pain Boy himself can also, once per game, regenerate D3 models, and then every turn for 1 CP, you can be regenerating D3 plus 2 models. So that squad can actually be used to steal objectives, to move block, to get yourself a lot of extra movement. It is really, really interesting now. So these things coming together, what it really makes me think is that, holy crap, this codex, in all reality, might have some beautifully well thought out synergies, and I am freaking here for it, baby. So essentially, and that's the end of the first part. So I'm going to go on to the second part in just a moment. I'm just got some closing thoughts on this War Horde. So I'm thinking War Boss with Pain Boy in your 20-man blobs. You could also do one with potentially like your Weird Boy for teleport shenanigans. There are a lot of really fascinating things you can do. That one stratagem, what was it called? Bulldozer Brutality. Until the end of the fight phase, each time your unit is selected to fight, when determining each time your unit is... Man, that is making me think that might be some foreshadowing of some really nasty stuff in this codex, guys. I don't know. Remember, I don't actually know. This is all the information I have, but holy crap, that is interesting. All right, so I've got some real positive thoughts about that. That's freaking awesome. Let's go. It is very boys-centric. I haven't seen anything in here that makes me think that it's going to be really wanting knobs or other dudes in it. I'm sure there's going to be some support for some other troops, but it is boys, and those are not snaggas. Remember, snaggas are going to have their own detachment as well. So let's move on to the next one. So this is going to be the Dread Mob. Now, when I did my video a long time ago, I hypothesized a Dread Mob. This is not what I thought they were going to do with the Dread Mob, but it is very freaking exciting to me that we are getting a Dread Mob. So this is the detachment rule. Try dat button. And it specifically applies to mechs, walkers, or grot vehicles. And can I tell you, if you do not have grot tanks, you're going to want some grot tanks. I have read through this, and you're going to want some grot tanks. So essentially, every time one of your units is selected to either shoot or fight, yes, this works in shooting and in fighting. Very, very important detail. You get to roll a d6. And if you roll a 1 or 2, you get sustained hits. If you roll a 3 or 4, you get lethal hits. And if you roll a 5 or 6, you get to increase the AP by 2 if it's a critical wound roll. Probably the worst of them all, but honestly, it's still actually quite an interesting option as well. Now, this is applied in both shooting and fighting. And if you want to kick it up a notch, you can choose to give your models hazardous, but then you don't have to roll. You get to choose. That is very fascinating. For the option of taking hazardous rolls, but you get to choose, that is really cool. Now, they did put a really interesting little thing in here, so if you're not an Orcs fan, don't worry. I don't think this is necessarily broken at all, because there's a caveat here. So if you get hazardous from multiple abilities, let's say you're shooting with a weapon that has hazardous, and then you gain hazardous because you want to select your ability here, you will fail on a roll of a 1 or 2, which is a big difference. So it is entirely possible that this, while super cool and super good looking, it might actually be fairly balanced. We'll have to see in the context of the rest of it. So that's really sick. But let's look at the first stratagem they give us for the Dread Mob. Now, this stratagem, this looks bonkers to me. I just gotta be honest. This looks absolutely bananas. So it is going to be for 1 CP in your shooting phase. So not in the fight phase, only in the shooting phase. And you get to target 1 mech, an Orc's walker, or a Grot's vehicle unit, not model. Thank you, because in the index, everything is based on models, but this is a unit that has not been selected to fight shoot this phase. So that makes me think like Killicons. It makes me think these Grot tanks. It keeps saying these things like these Orc walker units, and they did say that they're saying Def Dreads. So are we potentially going to see Def Dreads go back to units of 3 instead of... Ooh, I don't know. That might be too much, but let's just read what this stratagem says. Each time you use this stratagem, you can choose to push it. Until the end of the phase, each time a model in your unit makes an attack that targets a monster or a vehicle, add 1 to the wound roll. And if you choose to push it, add 1 to the damage characteristic of the attack. And until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped by models in your unit have the hazardous ability as well. Holy crap! I'm sorry, that might have been a little too much for the microphone. Sorry about that. But are you guys thinking what I'm thinking about this? Because I am starting to think about some grot tanks that are going to have sustained hits with +1 to wound and +1 to the damage. That is disgusting. A bunch of damage 4 rockets coming. Oh my god. But even more than that, I'm starting to think about what else is really going to be going in there. I'm thinking about this Boondocka Snazwagon, perhaps? Because if you guys recall, the Boondocka Snazwagon actually has... here, let me pull it up for a second. We got the Boondocka Snazwagon. It's going to have its mech special, which is 12 shots, or rapid fire 4 for potential 16. Strength 5, AP 1, damage 1, but you can get those bad, and it's already has sustained hits. So you can get those at lethal and +1 damage. That could be very, 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 very spicy. So this stratagem by itself is going to open up I guess that's not a grot vehicle, so never mind. Never mind. That was a lie. Ignore me. I was wrong, because that's not a grot vehicle, and it specifies walkers or grot vehicles. Forgive me. Forgive me. I understand. I just erred. Type it in the comment section anyway. But yeah, so anyway, this is actually a very, very spicy and very, very fascinating stratagem that could open up quite a ton of stuff. And that is the end of the preview. So as of right now, guys, I am loving the idea of our grot tanks. I'm thinking our grot tanks might be busted good. And I have got to finish up some of mine because, wow, this is spicy. This Dread Mob is looking absolutely disgusting, and it's going to be really interesting because it's a completely different way to play orcs than what we currently have. So, guys, let me know in the comments if you guys are pumped about this. I think this gives us, kudos to Games Workshop for teasing this out. I think they teased it out in a really interesting way. I think they might have given us a little extra information, especially in this Bulldozer Brutality. Until the end of the fight phase, each time your unit is selected to fight. Why would they put that in there? That really makes me think there's going to be ways to give you multiple times to be selected to fight. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for your attention. Of course, once I get this codex in my hands, I'm going to be cooking up all sorts of crazy stuff, and I'm absolutely going to be teaching it to you, and we're going to be sharing that all along. So appreciate your attention, and this is a double video upload. So hey, man, give me hit the likes, hit the subscription button if you like the content. If you don't, leave me a comment and tell me why. I probably won't change, but maybe I will. Who knows? Anyway, until next time, everyone, I love you, and keep crumping on. Bye-bye.